Collier County Water Sewer District Wastewater Cycle. After wastewater leaves a customer, it travels through a network of pipes and pumps until it reaches one of two water reclamation facilities. The dividing line between the customer and the utility is usually what is called the cleanout, an access point to the pipe underground. There are over 50,000 cleanouts throughout the water sewer district. These are occasionally damaged or even removed to provide drainage. This misuse causes excess water to enter the treatment system, increasing pumping and processing costs throughout the collection system and at the treatment facilities. Smoke testing is often used to identify openings in the system. Recently, in the South Service area, several capital projects were implemented to tighten up the underground system. Prior to this, 1 inch of rain would generate approximately 1 million gallons of flow to the south facility. After these projects, this quantity was reduced by 30% to about 700,000 gallons. This needs to be an ongoing program to help contain our operating cost. In fiscal year 2012, there is $1.46 million in Project 70043, Gravity Systems Technical Support Program, for similar work in other areas. In addition to the cleanouts, there are approximately 16,000 manholes and 685 miles of pipe that require similar repairs. This is Pump Station 310.01. It is one of 750 similar stations that pump wastewater from homes to the plants. Collier County is very flat, so a chain of pump stations are required to move the wastewater from one location to another. All of these stations need to be kept compliant with the Florida Department of Environmental Protection, or FDEP, regulations. Further, critical stations that serve hospitals, nursing homes, and shelters require power when FPL service is lost. Lightning protection is required by the National Fire Protection Association, Article 780, and compliance must be maintained. If a pump station were rendered inoperable due to a lightning strike or equipment failure, sanitary sewer overflows could occur, especially at the larger master and submaster stations. Failure of the pump station could cause sewage to back up into homes and cause catastrophic environmental impacts, such as dumping raw sewage into residential streets and drainage ways. Florida statute requires all collections/transmission systems to be operated and maintained so as to provide uninterrupted service. Waiting for a part to fail can result in noncompliance with law and can create environmental and health hazards. Fines and consent orders from FDEP could also result. This is an example of a pipe that was excavated last year during the rehabilitation of MPS 302. Unbeknown to the team, this pipe was found to be deteriorated to the point where leaking was about to occur. It is only 23 years old, and we have the potential for this occurring elsewhere in the system. Unfortunately, many of the largest, most critical pipes cannot be shut down long enough for inspection and repair because there is no alternate route. Where it is possible, a program of inspecting and videotaping pipes is used, but it takes 10 years to shut down and view 400 miles of such pipe. Similar pipes are being replaced on a worst first basis that considers visual observation, age, pipe material, and soil type, with priority placed on those that are old and near tidal areas of the county. Tidal areas can have brackish water, which quickly deteriorates old cast and ductile iron piping. There are several capital projects that are used to support this large effort. 70046, Lift Station Tech Support. 70044, Force Main Transmission Systems Tech Support. 70051, Collections Power Systems Tech Support. 73922, Collections Telemetry / SCADA. And 70064, Collections Lightning Protection Tech Support, totaling $4.5 million in fiscal year 2012. Altogether, this program supports 750 pump stations, 409 miles of pressurized pipe, and over 700 air release valves. The wastewater flow from 750 pump stations is divided in 20 basins. Each basin flows to one of 20 master pump stations, which in turn pump to the treatment facilities. This is Master Pump Station 310, located off Radio Road. It contains 3 pumps in 2 wells. The building contains backup generators, electrical gear, and instrumentation. Master pump stations are structurally, mechanically, and electrically intensive, complex facilities that require careful design, construction, and operation. Part of the expense of rehabilitation is the harsh corrosive environment and the compliant bypass operation required to keep the master pump station in operation while being reconstructed. Waiting until failure can cause catastrophic environmental impacts, such as dumping raw sewage into our estuaries, and could result in mandatory beach closings. In other areas, sanitary sewer overflows can lead to fines and consent orders from FDEP. There is $3.4 million in fiscal year 2012 under Project 70050, Master Pump Station Technical Support, which will be used to address deteriorating conditions at Master Pump Station 308. The North County Water Reclamation Facility is one of 2 final treatment locations within the Water Sewer District, processing about 60% of all wastewater flows. It covers 76 acres, contains about 3,000 components, and treats about 3 billion gallons of wastewater per year. It is called a water reclamation facility because it treats the wastewater to drinking water standards, which allows it to be distributed and sold as irrigation quality water that can be used to water residential lawns, golf courses, and medians. This facility reclaims 99% of water treated, and together with the South Treatment Facility, they provide 1/3 of the total pumped water supply within the Collier County Water Sewer District. These facilities must maintain Class 1 reliability as required by Federal Environmental Protection Agency. Let's take a top-level look at the major parts of this process. First, the incoming flow from the master pump stations comes into the headworks, where sand and debris are removed. Then, the raw wastewater is directed to the aeration basins, where the biological process starts. The flows come here 24/7, 365 days a year. It never shuts down. These large boxes and ductwork are the odor control system that allow us to be compliant with the no off-site odors portion of the Good Neighbor policy. Modifications were made this year to ensure that the system meets these objectives at all times at the lowest possible operating cost. This is aeration basin number 2, built in the 1980s. These rotating discs mix air into the water to accelerate the biological process that breaks down and consumes the waste. 4 years ago, the drives did not function and were replaced on 3 basins. 2 years ago, this basin was out of operation until temporary crack repairs were made. This year, it was found that the biological process was slowed because the discs were worn or broken, so the disc shafts and bearings were replaced. In the next 2 years, we know a structural repair will be required on this basin. And similar repairs are planned for basins 1 and 3. After aeration, the flow can be seen here before it goes to the clarifiers, which separate most of the solids from the liquids. The solids, called sludge, are sent to belt presses that remove excess water, and then the sludge is hauled off-site. 3 years ago, the drivers on clarifiers 8 and 9 failed and were replaced. 2 years ago, the mechanical portion of these clarifiers 2 and 3 were rebuilt entirely. However, underneath, in this pump room, structural repairs are still required. This year, the drives on clarifiers 6 and 7 are near failure and will be replaced. The water from clarifiers is sent to the filters and then to the chlorine contact chambers, built in 1982 and 1989. The filters remove any remaining particles, and the chlorine contact chambers disinfect the water. The filters have been repaired year after year to the point where they need replacement. Structural deficiencies also need to be addressed here. The resulting water, our product, is stored in one of 3 storage ponds where it is then pumped to our customers for irrigation use. The 3rd pond was recently added to allow more water to be stored and provide to our users. With it, we recently achieved a peak day of delivering 20 million gallons. If equipment is not maintained and we cannot meet the strict FDEP requirements for reuse water, it cannot be shipped. Instead, potentially 1/3 of the county's water supply would be pumped 2,800 feet underground, and other, more costly sources would be used. Most rehabilitation projects are covered under 73968, NCWRF Tech Support, 70053, NCWRF Power Stations Tech Support, and 70091, NCWRF Sludge Holding Tank Replacement, totaling $5 million in fiscal year 2012. The reuse water that is in the ponds at the North Treatment Facility gets pumped to facilities like this. The water is stored in this tank and eventually pumped to golf courses. This electrical equipment and associated meters, valves, and communications devices are aging and becoming unreliable. If failures occur, water may not be measured accurately, or it may not reach the customer at all. This year, there is a project here that will ensure that the exact meter readings are transmitted to our billing system, and the bill will match the meter. Without accurate and precise measurement at remote reuse water sites, there is a risk of not meeting customer contractual obligations and not complying with FDEP requirements. To reduce the risk of noncompliance at 10 other sites, $2.9 million is budgeted in fiscal year 2012 projects. 70062, IQ System SCADA Technical Support, 74401, IQ Water System Technical Support, 70056, IQ Power Systems Technical Support, and 70080, IQ Water Lightning Protection. This completes the cycle of receiving wastewater from homes and returning it as reuse water for irrigation. Unless we remain fully compliant with all regulations and standards, this would not be possible on a sustainable basis. These examples illustrate that our capital improvement program is focused on protecting public health, sustaining compliance, and preserving the integrity of the infrastructure while undertaking a reasonable level of risk. We believe we have the right program at the right time that avoids more costly breakdown and repair, which would have a greater impact on our community.